Hey guys, so our new member Christopher uploaded this great tattoo for some feedback, and I thought this was a really good example of how we can sort of create more depth and dimension very easily and very easily demonstrated in a tattoo like this. We have this Lord of the Rings tattoo here, and it's this sword, and I remember this elven symbol from the movies. I just don't remember the name of it. But my main piece of feedback for this tattoo would be that, and in this case, I would say that the sword should be the brightest element of the image, and the map can be a little bit darker, or at least not contain any or very little bright tones. So what would happen if we just sort of like shade the whole background in a very light gray? Let's just start there. I'm going to take this brush. I'm going to drag down the opacity to about 32. Oh, we need a new brush. We can actually just use this, just a simple hard brush. Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to carefully make the whole background just in a light gray, in an even light gray. And I'm going to be really careful just to get right up against that line on the sword. And we're going to erase a little bit of this in a second here. But okay, roughly this. Okay, and now we can just clean it up a little bit. As you can see, just by creating a little bit of shading in the background, just even shading, we're sort of just taking out all the skin tone in the map. The only thing that's left is the sword, and so it kind of pops out a little bit. It brings it forward. But we're not done here. This is just the basics. Let's see what happens if we duplicate this and make it a bit darker. Wow, it pops out even more. Why? Because we're creating more separation. The difference in tonal variation from the background to the sword is being increased. You see, I can make it really dark, and in the end, the only thing that's going to show is the sword, right? So if we zoom out now, the sword really pops. Okay, so I don't think we're going to use that dark of a background, but we could actually bring it up to here. I'm going to merge those two. Now, let's just clean up this, the little leaf here, because we want that to be in the foreground as well. So we brighten that up. And I am just going to use my smudge tool to clean up some of the lines here, make it a bit more cleaner. It's very important, especially when you tattoo this, that you go right up against these lines whenever you're filling something like this. Just like that. Like this. And I'm on the shading layer right now. Okay, cool. Something like this. Now what we can do, I mean, creatively with this design, personally, I'm not a fan when there's these sharp lines of shading and stuff like that. So we have a few options. Either we create like a smooth blend, so that it sort of blends in and very carefully becomes shaded, just enough so that we do create that separation. We don't want to take away everything, because we still want that sword to pop. What I would do then, let's say here, you could even from here actually decide that maybe parts of the map should be the border of where there is this shading. So you can create a pattern with that. So we can completely take it away here. Let's say, you do something like this. This could also be a way if you don't want, light shading all over the arm. You can even, draw new map borders where you decide that the shading should end, let's say. So you do something like that, and then you roughly take it away like that. Oh, here it doesn't show that much. Okay, but let's say for now we can just leave it with a smooth edge like this, just very carefully shaded. Okay, and what we can do now, very easily, is to create a cast shadow from the sword onto the map, which will even more like increase that separation and make it look really, really 3D. And it's really easy. It just looks really impressive, but once you understand light a little bit, which I hope that through the various courses we do here, you will, it's very easy to do this. So let's say that the light is coming from here. I think it kind of does. The light sort of comes from above this sword. It's not clear whether it comes from any direct one side, because then this side would have been a lot darker, right? And this side would have been a lot brighter. But right now the light is kind of coming from above-ish, because this part of the blade is the brightest, right? So I think we could definitely get away with doing a cast shadow on this side. And it's actually really easy. Let's do this. I'll show you how. You can take a soft brush in a size like that. We have a new layer. And I'm just going to draw gently along this side here with my soft brush. And right now it's like full black, but we can work with that later. Okay, something like this. Now we can drag down the opacity of that to about here. And you see already, it kind of looks like there's shadow and that the sword is right on top of the map. Okay, what we can do from here, I think this is a little bit harsh and a little bit far away. Maybe we can move it in a bit. I could blur it a little more, so we could go to, let's see, Gaussian blur, exactly. And you see what happens if I drag this up. I just want to soften the edges a little bit, just like that. I think looks realistic, because the closer an object is to its background, the sharper the shadow, and the further away, the more fuzzy the shadow is going to be. So we want the sword to be kind of close, right, because it's laying on top. All right, I'm going to drag up the opacity on this one just to about here for now, because now I'm going to go in and just clean this up. Look at this now, what happens here. Now I'm creating a lot of separation between the sword and the background. And you're going to see this sword is going to pop out like crazy right now. And it's about the contrast, right? Like you see down here, we have it so bright, and then with this light shade, or sorry, darker shade, it's going to really pop out. Okay. Now I think that shadow is a bit dark. It doesn't have to be that strong. It can just be like somewhere there, let's say. And you know, at this point, maybe we could even decrease the darkness of the background a little bit. Maybe to about here. A little bit. And if we want to get into the real nitty-gritty of this, it should be darker the closer to the edge we are. Darker to the edge of the sword. So right here, it should be the darkest, and it should get lighter and lighter as it goes outwards. So what I can do is actually drag this up, and I can very carefully take a soft erasing brush, bring it up to size, maybe take down the opacity a bit, and just kind of carefully go along this edge here. And actually, I'm going to take it off completely here. That's too much. We can bring it in a little more here, and erase up here on the top of the sword. Just like that. And now let's do it with this trinket here as well. So actually, we can go just like that. Now I'm just going to sketch this really quickly, just enough so we can get that effect. Just like that. And you see already we do have a bit of a better sense of depth here now. It looks like these things are more on top of this map. So if we take away, this is how it looked from the beginning. And then we added this, the faint gray in the background, and then a little bit of a shadow. So all we really have to do is think about things in terms of separation. Do we want to pull an object forward, or do we want to push it backward? And by doing this, we create depth. So yeah, if I was Christopher, I would consider calling the client back in for a second session to add this layer. I think that could be really cool and improve this tattoo a lot. And hopefully this will help you for next time.